So I'm going to give a little introduction here because this is my first video. I already recorded a video, but then I felt like it was too long. I might re-record that video. I was kind of like doing a review of Franny and Zoe and some personal things that I had to talk about it relating me to the book, I guess. But anyway, I'm assuming that no one I don't even know if anyone will listen to this. But I had another YouTube channel, and it had 350 subscribers, and normally, you kind of want a channel to keep growing. I'm attempting to stay anonymous, but my voice is distinctive, so anyone who knows me would know who it is who's talking, So I felt that I had to start a new channel because I didn't know who was subscribed. And you might think, well, you're a moron because you're going to have the same problem. And you're going to have the same problem now. And it's like, well, no, not exactly, because I was doing some security stuff in the process of starting a new channel. I'm not going to get into exactly what I did. Not that it's a secret, but I just don't feel like getting into it. But I had to start a new channel to disassociate where I live with with my channel or whatever, and Google is a company that wants to know everything about you. I mean, that's their end game, is to just know everything, and it doesn't matter. They don't care about privacy. I mean, they say they do or whatever, and your privacy matters to us and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I just wanted to explain a little bit about why, as this is like an introduction, I guess, to my channel. But I might talk about something else too. But I want to start doing videos where I'm not meandering too much, and I'm just sort of saying what the video is about, because I have a tendency to do that. And I don't even care. Like, I got a lot of negative comments about that. Not a lot, but like I got comments saying, I don't even know what you're talking about, and you're taking too long to get to what you're talking about. I don't even care that much. I just think that it's basically, like, they have a point, So I don't want to be meandering, and so I guess I'm just going to make this an introduction to my channel, and then I might make another video about something else, about something related to AI, which is so so tiresome and onerous to most of the public. It's not fun, Again, like I've said, I'm not going to make references that much to my old channel, but like, it's a thing that boomers are into. It's an ironic inversion of what usually happens when a new technology is introduced, which is that usually it's like the old people are complaining about it, and we didn't have that back in my day and all that type of stuff, and the young people adopt it. It's inverted now, and I'm very happy to see it. I'm very happy to see that it's being acknowledged and stuff like that. But so anyway, I've known people that I don't really feel are on my side. I don't really have enemies, just because I'm basically a nice person, and I kind of make an attempt almost to be kind of like a ghost, and I'm not a happy camper, I'm not. And but obviously, I'm attempting to remain anonymous, and I don't know how long I'll be able to keep that up. But I want this channel to be something that can get bigger, and if I start to get a whole bunch of subscribers, I will just have to stop talking about personal things, and I understand that. But so anyway, what happened was that the reason I was so concerned and sort of neurotic about it, because anyone listening to this who knows my old channel, they'll know that this kept coming up over and over again, to the point where I would continue saying, oh, this is going to be my last video, and then I would make another video, but then I would delete it, and well, no, generally I would private it, not delete it. Um, and I don't like doing that. It's annoying to people, and I don't blame them. And somebody wanted me to download or put everything so that he could download them, which is flattering, I guess, but I'm not comfortable with that. So but I left up a few videos. But anyway, so what happened was that I knew someone at work, and see, I now understand a little bit better how algorithms work, and the fact that they kind of so let's just say, for example, because this happens. I mean, this is verifiable, on Instagram. Instagram I treat basically like the public can see it, and so I'm not weird in the way that I am on Twitter. On Twitter, I post very strange, absurdist humor, and some of it's real stuff. Like I would post something about jerking off, and I had a whole bunch of followers, but it was only meant for those followers that were following me. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so I'll say what I was going to say with Instagram, which anyone who uses it, that with Instagram, people, you will get recommendations like, do you know this person? And it's like, Jesus, how do they even know that I know that person? Like, it seems to be beyond the scope of like, well, you're friends with someone who is a friend of theirs, you know what I mean? So like within the app that would make sense, but it seems to go beyond that. It seems to, maybe I'm technically wrong, but so the way I figure it is, so that's already a little bit creepy, and you get recommendations for like, you're at a workplace, and then Instagram recommends your boss or whatever, or vice versa, and it's awkward. You don't necessarily want to follow your boss. I mean, maybe it depends on the circumstance, but there's a lot of circumstances where you don't want to have anyone, you don't want to have certain people know any of your shit on social media, including Facebook. Facebook is another one where I don't even really post on there because it's so public, You can't post anything political unless you want to argue with people, which I don't. And I'm even talking about whatever it is, but like generally, if you see people being political on Instagram, or I mean on Facebook, they're talking about how much they hate Trump or how Orange Man bad, or it's going to be something liberal, so that if you say anything like MAGA or whatever, then you're instantly going to be open for criticism and attacks, and not that I'm super into Donald Trump, but like for the most part, like a lot of the liberal leftist talking points that I see on Facebook is just stuff that I oftentimes don't agree with, and it's not even interesting to me. So Facebook I just don't even use. Twitter was a different story, and I've been on Twitter for, my cat's just really getting in my way with the tail, and cats don't seem to have a natural fear of getting their tail stepped on, which is very strange to me. But anyway, I've been on Twitter for 12 years, going on 13. It used to be really fun. It's not anymore, and I might do another video about that, because it's now algorithm driven, whatever. And it's ruined the website, in my opinion. Some people like it. They say, oh, it's Elon Musk is based, and it's now, he got rid of all the libtards and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, that's nice, I guess, but like, that really doesn't have a lot to do with my experience. Despite that, the experience is worse, So, but anyway, so I've been kind of like dependent on Twitter as a creative outlet, really, for a long time. It used to be fun to get a little community of people that you knew on the internet, and then in some cases you get to know them in real life, rarely, but it happens and stuff like that. And so I would write I would never. I developed this early on, where with Twitter, I decided that I was at first I wanted to share it with people in 2013, and I was excited about Twitter. That sounds weird, but I was excited to use it and to share it with people. And then I realized really pretty quickly that to the extent that I had anything political to say, it was going to be shot down, or that people would disagree or whatever. And it became very apparent to me that Twitter was firmly on the left of the spectrum, and that would not only that, but that was the culture. It was very intentional, So something about that, it was that and other things, So early on, I decided, okay, you know what? I'm actually not gonna. I started to share it with people that I knew in real life, and then I developed a policy personally where I have my real life, and then I have my Twitter stuff, and it's almost completely separate, And in a way that really presents a lot of problems, because then you can't share. I've noticed that most people aren't like that. Well, it depends. It really depends. But like, a lot of people have a Twitter where they write some pretty weird. Like, I was on Weird Twitter, where you make jokes and you make absurdist comments and stuff like that, and it worked for a while. But it wasn't something that I wanted to share with people that I knew in real life. But a lot of people are a little bit more bold about that, especially in the context of having a job, which is interesting to me. But, it depends on your level of comfort, I guess, with certain things. But the point is, like, I always treated it as, like, I wouldn't say anything bad or, like, that would get me in trouble or something, but, like, it was all, like, kind of, like, either weird or, like, kind of personal. Like, I wouldn't talk to certain people in real life about, and like I said, it was a creative outlet. And so, but partly what I'm saying is it was sort of semi-public, So in other words, it wasn't locked, or however you call it when you make a Twitter account private and only your followers can see it, because I wanted to increase my followers, But it was a situation where I'm a little bit nervous here, because I think this is just people, okay, yeah. Somehow I get this idea that people are like, can hear me, even though I really don't think that's happening. But so anyway, I live in an apartment where other people are around, I don't mean around in the apartment. I mean like the walls are not so thick, But so the way I would approach Twitter was like, whoever my follower base is, whatever I'm tweeting is meant for them. And in that context, I really didn't ever post anything. People know me as a person who sometimes says things that are like a little out of pocket, or however you want to say it. But it's all like kind of like facetious in jest, absurdist type of vibe. So what happened was that somebody asked me at work, that the last place I worked at, and this is a story that I never felt comfortable talking about. Related to that, I'm going to do a video, maybe, if I feel comfortable enough doing it, about not getting bullied at the work, or getting bullied at the workplace, and how to deal with it, because that's what was happening to me. And the word bullying, yes, it's overused, but that's exactly what was going on. And I had to stand up for myself, and it really didn't feel fair. And that's really why I'm not there anymore. So, they they made it abundantly clear to me that they did not care for me. But anyway, so I had this coworker who just wanted to talk all the time. And this is another problem that I have with certain work environments where it's just constant fucking talking. And, you know, the way I am is like, it's okay a little bit, you know, and to have banter or whatever. But I'm really not at a workplace to talk, especially not when other stuff kind of needs to get done, you know. And so this kid would just talk to me, and which is okay, you know, it's fine. But he was above me essentially in the hierarchy. You know, so it made it so where I was in this uncomfortable position where I was basically like a captive audience. And I just had to talk to him a lot. And we didn't have a whole lot in common, you know. But that's what he likes to do, is he wants to talk a lot. And so what happened was that somehow he knew that I had Twitter, and that I used Twitter, because I did use it on my phone while I was at work. And not that often, but I did, you know, it's just one of those things where you can quickly fire off a tweet or whatever. So what happened was that he asked me, at some point, he requested to know my Twitter. Not aggressively, he just wanted to know, like, because he didn't know how I approached it, I guess. And, you know, like I said, a lot of people aren't like that, and they may not even tweet anything, because a lot of people don't have a lot going on upstairs, you know. And I'm not saying that that's the only reason you wouldn't tweet. I'm just saying, you know, a lot of people have a Twitter and they barely use it in that way. They'll use it to see other people's shit, or they'll use it to retweet. I'm using all the old terms because I really don't respect what Twitter has become. And even if it's not even so much about that. It's not that I hate Elon Musk or anything. But I hate the name X, and I think it's bad, and I think it's unnecessary. And if you're going to come up with a new name, make it something, you know, not a letter. So yeah, some people use Twitter. Everybody uses it really in a different way, but some people just retweet other people's stuff. A lot of people, I think this kid didn't really use it very much, except some sort of promotional thing. He always had some sort of a side hustle, and so he may have done that. And then but I told him, like, no, I don't share my Twitter with anyone. I think I said it pretty explicitly. I was like, I don't tell my Twitter to anyone in real life. But I continued somewhat foolishly. In retrospect, I mean, it's not something that should have occurred to me. But I continued to use it at work. And so what happened eventually is that he revealed to me after he left, because he wasn't going to tell me this before, but he had known my Twitter for a long time and had been reading my tweets. And it was incredibly creepy, and it was a violation. And I felt violated. And I had written all kinds of embarrassing things that, and you might say, well, why were you writing it? You shouldn't have been doing that. And it's like, it had a context, you know, which is that my followers were seeing it. And pretty much for the most part, anyone that was following me were people that I basically kind of liked, you know, and vice versa if I was following them. So at some point, because I tweeted something about his girlfriend, no, it wasn't his girlfriend. I just tweeted something about him, something that he found objectionable, and it's like, okay, well, dude, you shouldn't have been fucking looking at my Twitter. You know, your butt hurt, but like, you did that to yourself because you violated me, and you knew that I didn't share it with anyone. So the whole point, and that was very, I deleted my whole Twitter because I couldn't quite figure out what to do. I deleted it right away after he texted me that he objected to what I wrote, you know. Meanwhile, the whole I don't know how long it had been. It might have been even like a year. And he was like looking at my tweets, you know. Again, I just have to emphasize that a lot of the stuff I wrote was personal. And even because it kind of scarred me a little bit. You know, that's a little bit, you know, dramatic to say it that way, but it kind of did in its own way. So with my Twitter account now, I'm more guarded, even though I don't think he looks at it. He doesn't know it. I wouldn't know how he could know it. It's possible, but the point is, like, I even write at this point sort of assuming that other people that I wouldn't want to see it might see it. And then you might say, well, that's what you should have been doing to begin with. I disagree. I don't agree with that stance. But I will say that the way this relates to Instagram, and the example that I gave is, I don't know. First of all, I never quite understood, because I never would talk about it. I didn't want to talk to him after he left work. And I didn't want to talk to his girlfriend, who I had to work with. But, you know, and it became a very, like, complicated thing where I had to figure out who I was able to talk to and who I had to be completely reticent, you know, around. So anyway, I didn't know how he knew. And I suspected, and I still suspect, I'm sort of like 60%, but I really don't know. That's why I'm saying that. So it's like, it's not 50-50, but I would say like 60% probability that he looked at my phone when I left it unattended at some point, looked at my account name, and then started not following me because I would have seen him, but looking at it in his phone, whether it's, you know, using the internet version so that you don't have to be logged in, or it may be even following me and I somehow didn't realize it, because you do have a lot of sometimes seemingly random people that will follow you. I feel like I would have noticed, but you know, I really don't know. It's possible he followed me and I just didn't know it. So either he did that and did this sneaky, creepy thing of looking at my Twitter handle and then, you know, remembering it and then following me later, or the algorithm realized that we work together and it suggested my account to him. Even, see, that's unlikely for its own reasons, because my account was so sort of random that I don't think he would have clicked on it. It seems unlikely. And it seems unlikely that he would have even realized that it was me if he clicked on it, just because I never used names, or I rarely did, and stuff like that. I basically didn't really ever refer to my own name, I don't think. But the point is, like, it seems unlikely, but it's possible. You know, it's possible that that's how he saw my account, was because Twitter, and this is a violation in my opinion. This in itself is creepy on Twitter's part and on all of this social media, to sort of say, well, he knows you. We somehow have, you know, triangulated the phones. We know whose phone is being used. We know someone has, you know, he has his number and vice versa and stuff like that, because you have to get, a lot of times you have to get people's numbers at work. So that could have been, it could have been so many different ways, that because they have so many different ways to track you now with your phone. They do it very intentionally. ChatGPT now wants your phone every time that you I use ChatGPT logged in, which I may stop doing, but I try to log in. If I've deleted my cookies and my cache and stuff, and I have to re-log in, they'll say, check your phone for blah blah blah. It never used to do that. That's a privacy violating feature for them. It's a feature. For the rest of us, it's a fuck you. It's we don't really care about your privacy, and we want to track who you are and what phone you're using, or whatever. So the point is, like, I don't know how he knew my Twitter account, you know, because I never told him, unless my memory is seriously being weird, or somehow it's like some sort of you know, missing time or something. But basically I didn't, and I told him, like, no, I don't give my Twitter to people. So it's just basically like impossible that I told him, you know. So anyway, I don't know how he got the Twitter account, and I do know that he was talking about it with other people. And that really bothered me, because it's like, oh, well, guess what so and so is writing, and he's so weird. Or maybe even, I mean, on some level it was a little bit flattering, because I think he was being entertained by looking at it, you know. But again, like, it doesn't really matter to me, because I was writing as if certain people didn't know about it, and that the people that knew were my followers. So what happened with my last YouTube account is specifically, like, I didn't know if, you know, it's like YouTube is determining, Google wants to know where you are, what you're doing, who you are, you know, everything that they can know. That's everything that they're legally allowed to know, and many things that they're really legally not allowed to know is what they want to know about you. And you might say, yeah, right, Google, yeah, they're the enemy. Let me tell you something. All companies do that. Okay, fine. A lot of companies do that. Google is probably the worst, and well, Facebook is really the worst, I think, but Google is sort of like a close second. So I don't think that's uniform across all tech companies. Some tech companies have a little bit more, let's just say, consideration for privacy, even though they have, you know, most of them all have like tracking methods of tracking you and stuff like that. So anyway, the point is, like, I started this YouTube account, and then it started getting popular. You know, in relatively speaking, you might say, well, 350 followers is shit, so what are you so upset about? Yeah, but it was growing. And the reason it stopped growing was because I was making videos where I was talking about how neurotic I was, and how I was worried about people finding out about my account and stuff like that. I know that that's basically why it stopped growing, and the numbers stopped. So, but the whole thing is that I was afraid that somehow he knew about it, you know. I had never even, I don't think, even seen him after I stopped working with him, except one or two times where I worked, you know, that he came to visit and stuff like that. So I never saw him, so there would be no reason really. But even then, like, it was sort of like this lingering fear in the back of my mind, like, what if YouTube suggested my channel to him, and then he suddenly saw it, and he knew it was, because how would you not know? He would have known it was me, or probably. And you know, and then all these private things, because I do tend to, the way I was conducting that account was basically like, it was sort of like a diary where I don't talk about super personal things. And I meant it to be that way, and people liked it. Not everyone, you know, but people would subscribe, and they would listen to my videos. It actually somewhat surprised me, and it made me feel good in a way, because I kept feeling like, you know, I'm kind of like this pathetic person, and I don't really, why would anyone want to listen to what I have to say, you know? But I think we have such a deficit of authenticity in this country, and it really in the world, but especially in media right now. You have people like Sabrina Carpenter, the opposite of authentic, you know. And I'm not shitting on her specifically, I'm just using an example. Like, so many of these people, it's just really, they're really fake. And, you know, people can pretend like, oh, you know, Taylor Swift, and she's the most popular singer in history or the world right now or whatever, and it's like, okay, maybe, yeah, like on a superficial sort of level, but a lot of people are very what's the word, they're eager, I guess, to hear something that's real, and it's not coated in bullshit, it's not completely bullshit, you know. And there's just so much of that around right now. It feels like it's just gotten worse and worse, especially with social media. So that was my concern, partly because I had started that channel a while back, and it just, and I'm not going to, there's a couple of other reasons too, but I'm not going to explain them. But that's basically why I felt that I had to start a new channel, and that at this point I would be more comfortable first of all, I don't know if anyone's going to hear this. I mean, I have a couple people that I'm going to tell about the new channel because they want to know. But, even my sister probably wants to know the new channel, and I'm not sure. It kind of means I can't really talk about her, but not really at the same time, because like I told her about my last channel well after I had started doing videos for it, and I wasn't like nervous about it. It's just that the more people know about my channel, the less free I am to speak freely, So the way I've decided it is like I want this channel to become popular, so I am going to keep doing, if you want to call it like a diary. I don't really know the word. It's more like a journal, really. And I do, sometimes I do videos that are literally about a specific thing that really has nothing to do with me. But usually it's from a personal sort of perspective, So the way I'm going to approach it is, if I do start to get subscribers, I'm just going to have to be a little bit more judicious about how I speak about stuff and stuff like that. Or maybe, frankly, just learn to not give a shit, you know what I mean? Because I want to be able to talk. And the reason I have this channel, and the last one, and the one before that, but that was a different story. But the reason I have this channel is so that I can talk about stuff that I'm thinking about, or that stuff that's affecting me, or that I'm experiencing, or whatever. Because a lot of times in my real life, I'm very much of a loner type of person, and I don't have sometimes I really feel like I don't have anyone to talk to. And I used to have a therapist, and I broke up with her about 2.5 months ago for various reasons. I might talk about that in another channel, but I kind of need this as an outlet. Not literally, but it really does help me, and people seem to want to listen. So hopefully it continues that way, even though I'm really going to have to, I'm literally starting from zero. So that's just the way it's going to be for however long. But anyway, so yeah, that's the introduction, I guess, to this channel. Kind of I don't know if that story was interesting at all, but I do know that a lot of people will be able to relate to that, because it's a problem. And these social media companies don't respect people's privacy, and I don't know to what degree they do that. I think with YouTube, it's kind of random. I don't think YouTube really goes like, well, such and such person knows this person, so we're going to recommend his channel to the person he knows. I don't think they really do it like that. And that's to their, credit. Anyway, it was a very dramatic thing at the time, and I had to call people and, be upset and tell them, like, this thing happened to me, and what do you think about it? And just sort of talk about it with people, because I was very upset at the time. And I'm still a little bit upset because I deleted that Twitter account on which I had 500 followers, and Twitter got worse and worse to the point where, the followers now are, the majority of them seem to be some variety of fake or a bot or whatever. So the followers that I have now, people who used to follow me don't follow me, because people get annoyed when you start a new account, and in a way I don't really blame them, but it's what I felt that I had to do, So anyway, this is my new channel, I guess. Thanks for listening.